The princess toss.
Like pencil sketches?
That's all of Adobe Illustrator. Rescalable. Featuring my new favorite Cody sport. Princess tossing.
Well, I don't know. John was saying it has really good.
Oh, quit waving, you goofy fuck.
Alright, everybody ready? Yeah. Alright. Thank you very much for showing up. I'm AnimatedJames. Thank you all for showing up to my panel. I really do appreciate it. Before I start the panel, I just want to make sure everyone's been enjoying TrotCon so far. Have you? Good, then I don't have to try so hard. Okay, yeah, I've been enjoying TrotCon so far as well. Usually I enjoy every convention I go to. I try to go to at least 4 conventions a year, because 4 times a year I find myself having way too much money. And I just have to spend it in the most childish way possible. Before I go to conventions, I like to make a list of things that I want to do while I'm there, just to make the most out of my time. Usually, the list is exactly the same for every convention. But recently, for TrotCon, I added something to that list that I didn't think I'd ever add. Before I tell you what it is, a little backstory. Ever since I moved out of my parents' house, I've been having a really hard time waking up in the morning. For one thing, I'm in a room all by myself, so I don't really have anyone there to wake me up. I don't have anyone there to keep me from hitting the snooze button. And overall, I just don't have anything pleasing to wake up to. Like, there's no one greeting me when I wake up. So the first thing on my list of things to do at TrotCon is buy as many plushies as I can afford. It'll give me something nice to go to sleep with, and it'll give me something nice to wake up to. At least until I move in with my friend Nick. Now, I mostly go to pony conventions, and that's where my horse fame is most utilized. Now, we all know that term, horse famous, used to describe a famous person amongst bronies. And I consider horse fame to actually be a legitimate way of making a name for yourself, considering how big and how active the brony community is. The only thing I have a problem with is the term itself, horse fame. As if to say, hey, when it comes to anything having to do with horses, I'm a big deal. And I don't really see that as fair, especially when you consider equestrians. Like actual horse riding equestrians, like people who ride horses for a living, equestrians. I feel sorry for equestrians because now they don't have a term to describe famous people in their community. And they're the real horse famous people. It doesn't really make any sense, and I really do feel sorry for them. I don't see it as fair. So I took it upon myself to come up with a term that the equestrian community can use to describe a famous equestrian. Now, I figure since the brony community already took the term horse famous, I think it's only fair for the equestrian community to take the term cartoon unicorn magic famous. Now, when it's abbreviated, you might think that that term belongs in another community on the internet. And don't worry, I fixed that as well. So a lot of people ask me how I got into animation. I assume because they want to get into animation themselves. But I always tell them that there's no one way of learning how to animate. There's multiple methods. The one I used personally was I just played around in Flash, saw what buttons do what, found out what buttons do what, found out what works and what doesn't work to my advantage. I call that the scientist method. It's when you basically experiment with something until you have a basic understanding of it. But sometimes people prefer to look up tutorials and do what they see in tutorials. Or as I call it, the student method. It's a method I sometimes use, but more often than not, I prefer to use the scientist method. But sometimes animation gets a little too tedious and might get a little too time-consuming, and sometimes people procrastinate. And sometimes they go even further and they just give up animating and they never try animating again. I call that the if you want to lose your virginity, you'll choose this method. Now, I've been to enough conventions that I've met enough of my fans that I feel like I am properly able to identify the different types of fans that there are and the different types of fans that you all might be. For example, you have the hyper fan. Now, this is the type of fan that, loves you, loves themselves, extremely loves your work, loves everything about life. They're extremely fun to be around. They make you feel really great about yourself. They might get a bit annoying at times, but for the most part, they're self-aware of that. And they just bring joy to any situation. Then you have the casual fan. Now this is the type of fan that, they like your work, but they don't obsess over your work. They want to get to know you on a personal level. They want to know the human behind whatever it is the human is famous for. After being treated like you're above everybody else, it's nice to be taken back down to earth and be treated like an actual human being. Then you have the shy fan. This fan goes without saying. You might be a little too intimidated to approach you, or they'll approach you, say like 1 or 2 stuttering sentences, and then never talk to you ever again. As much as I wish this type of fan was a bit more talkative, I do enjoy interacting with this type of fan because nothing boosts your confidence like someone forgetting how to speak simply because you said hi to them. Then you have the wannabe fan, interesting fan. They like your work, but for some reason when they get your attention, they feel the need to tell you about their own work and their own videos and their own art and their own series that they're working on. Fanfic, okay. And, I'm all for people like trying to gain recognition through their creative ideas, but if you have to walk up to people and promote your own work yourself, odds are it's not work worth promoting. That's just the honest truth. And as much as I want to tell these fans when they tell me about their work that I just don't care, I can't do that because that will be rude, and I don't want to be rude to my fans. So I just kind of have to pretend I care and just sort of nod my, I call it the girlfriend nod, where you nod your head despite not listening to what the person's saying. And you have the critic fan. Now, when I wrote this panel, I originally had a description for the critic fan, like how I had a description for all those other types of fans. But when I read it back, I realized it was way too long. I just had way too much to say about this type of fan. It was just way too long. So I decided to shorten it. Okay, that might be a little too crass. Let's go with something a bit more kid-friendly. Autographs and pictures. Now, I've given out a few, more than a few autographs and pictures throughout my time at this convention. Personally, I'm not the kind of person who actively goes out and looks for famous people to get autographs and pictures from. Personally, I just don't see the point unless I've made some kind of impact on that famous person's life. I just don't see the purpose in collecting autographs and pictures. But I do understand that there are some people out there who have, legitimate reasons for collecting autographs and pictures. Now, you're either the kind of person that, does care or doesn't care. I call them seekers and observers. Seekers are the people that care about autographs and pictures because they're seeking attention, not just from these famous people, but from their friends and family who they show these autographs and pictures to so that they recognize that they met this famous person, and so that the person they're showing these autographs and pictures to can say, oh, okay, I guess you wanted life, I guess? And the observers are people who don't really care one way or the other, they just don't see the point. And whenever you have two different types of people, they're going to look at each other in completely different ways, and they're going to stereotype each other in completely different ways. For example, this is how observers look at seekers. And And this is how seekers look at observers. And based on that picture, this is how observers look at everything. And this is how seekers and observers look at me right now. Now, cosplay is another huge part of conventions that I've come to admire. Like, I'm not a huge cosplay aficionado or anything, but I do appreciate it when people put a lot of effort into their cosplays. And mostly I just observe cosplayers and I, record their activity, record some data, if you will. And I'd like to share some of that data with you right now, just some stuff that I found out relating to cosplayers. This is my blood pressure whenever I see someone in a fursuit coming towards me.
But why?
This is how good someone's cosplay is versus how insecure they are.
True. So true.
This is how bad someone's cosplay is versus how funny it is to see them in the cosplay contest. This is the probability that a cosplayer at a pony convention that looks female actually is female. Okay, this next one might be a little controversial, a little hard to take in, but I promise it's 100% accurate. This next graph is how in character a cosplayer is versus how autistic they are. This is the probability that I'm going to hell. And this is a line graph cosplaying as a pie chart. I don't know why. Alright, now raves. Raves are another huge part of convention that attract a lot of attention. Who here has ever been to a rave? Yeah, they're fun. Panels are another huge part of conventions that I've come to admire. If I didn't admire them, I wouldn't be doing it right now. Now, panels can either be educational or entertaining, which means they have the potential to be either boring or obnoxious. Which means you're either going to walk out or see just how bad it gets. Now, sometimes I'll be attending a panel that is hosted by a really close friend of mine. I have a lot of friends who host panels, and sometimes I go to their panel. And sometimes I have to leave in the middle of it. Either because, someone's calling me, or I have somewhere to be, or I'm just bored out of my mind. And I have to leave in the middle of it, but I can't leave because it's one of my friend's panels. And out of the kindness of my heart, I cannot bring myself to leave a panel hosted by someone who I consider to be a close friend. So what I do is I yell out, "We're not friends anymore," and then I walk out. Now, by far, the most popular card game I've seen played at conventions is Cards Against Humanity. Surely, have any of you heard of this game?
Yes.
Alright, so I don't have to explain how it works?
No.
What is it?
Alright, cool. So, I like the game enough. I like playing the game well enough, but I will admit that over time it does start to grow a little old on you, and it does start to get a little boring. At some point it's just I get it, we're horrible people, I get it, Bill Cosby raped Robin Williams, I get it, insert horrible thought here, that's the point of the game, I understand, but at the same time, I don't want the game to eventually get boring over time. So I'd like to offer my advice on how to improve Cards Against Humanity to make it not eventually get boring over time. Now, you still keep the rule of the person with the most funny and most offensive card wins, but now the person with the least funny and least offensive card has to walk up to a random stranger and say whatever the winner's card said.
Rule applied now.
Good
That's awesome.
Okay, this is the last thing I'll talk about. Now, for a lot of people, conventions are their only means of escaping stress and pressure, but escaping stress and pressure without escaping into their minds. It's the only way of escaping in real life. Like maybe you're having a rough time at school, or maybe, you know, your job is giving you trouble, or maybe you just don't like your job like most people, and, you know, maybe whatever it is, whatever stresses in your life, conventions are there purely to let go of it and not have to deal with it for 3 days. And then it's all of a sudden, it's all over. And I can understand why that would be really hard for some people, because it's really hard for me as well. It is really hard for me to pretend that I'm not happy that I get to go home. At long last, I am free to return to the realm where I determine my own destiny. A realm free of judgment. A realm free of peer pressure. A realm free of people who have never heard of personal space. A realm free of people who have never heard of deodorant. And a realm where I am free to not use deodorant.
Story time.
Want to hear the story of how I got punched in the face? Yeah. You guys just don't have questions, do you?
You're too awesome. We love you.
You're too boring.
I
All right.
get that a lot.
All right, so the story of how I got punched in the face by a Mr. Cake cosplayer, and in the process lost the respect of my girlfriend. So, okay, so like as you probably know, I planned on making a live-action music video to a song I wrote with Van Mellon called "The Real Pink Pony," and I planned on making this music video, and I planned on filming it at PonyCon, BabsCon, and here. That obviously that didn't happen, but the first place I was going to do it was at PonyCon, and okay, you know how you have signs in life, like signals in life, where you should just stop doing what you're doing, like whether you call them signs from God or signs from whatever, like you have like signs that you should just stop in your tracks, stop in your path, and go on another path. Now, I had 3 of these, and I think that's appropriate because, you know, 3 strikes you're out. So I'm going to be naming these three signs that I had. So I get to PonyCon, and I'm meeting one of the cosplayers who agreed to be in it. And I'm looking for other cosplayers who might want to be in it as well. And I see this amazing Trixie cosplayer. Like, she looked exactly like how Trixie would look as a human being, except she didn't have the hoodie from Equestria Girls, which I found disappointing. And so I just had to have her in the music video. So I walked up to her and I said, "Excuse me, ma'am, first of all, I love your cosplay. It is amazing. Also, I'm filming a music video here. Would you like to be in it?" and she turned to me and said, "I'm a guy." Strike one. I'm sorry, but when you make a mistake that incredibly epic, that's a sign that you should stop breathing. So, I walk away embarrassed and but I'm like, you know what, whatever. So I move on and cut to the time when I'm actually filming the music video with the cosplayers. The first scene involved a Mr. Cake cosplayer and a Mrs. Cake cosplayer going, just walking down a hallway, and then I, who was cosplaying as the real I was cosplaying as Ghetto Pinkie Pie, and with the pink wig and everything, and so I was going to step in, push Mr. Cake out of the way, and basically take his woman, and then he was supposed to turn me around and fake punch me in the face. Fake punch me in the face. Fake punch me in the face. So we do that scene multiple times, and so far no one's injured. And I suggest, as the director, you know what? I like those, but can we make it a bit more realistic? Can we get a little more realism in there?
Like actually punching you in the face?
Gee, I wonder if that's the punchline. So we do the scene one more time, and I do the thing where I push him out of the way, steal his woman, and he turns me around. I don't remember what happened the next second, but the second after that, I'm on the ground, and it took me a while to realize, while I'm on the ground, I actually had to ask myself, did I just get punched in the face? And then I saw blood dripping from my face to the ground, and I was like, okay, you could have just said yes. So then I stood up, and everyone's just like, oh my god, and everyone's just really shocked, and I'm the kind of guy who thinks that life is too short to have any kind of negative feelings, so I try to turn negative things around and make light of them. So I got punched in the face, I'm bleeding from my lip, and they're all shocked and worried and crying, and I'm just to the cameraman, I'm just did you get it? And everybody laughed, and I died inside.
What about strike 3?
That was strike 2. I'm getting to strike 3. Also, please shut up. So, I get punched in the face, and immediately, it's so bad, I have to go to the hospital. I have to leave the convention and go to the hospital before I lose an organ from that wound. And so I rush to the hospital, I get stitches, and I spend the entire day in the hospital, by the way, the entire rest of the day. And not because they kept me there, I just didn't want to go back to that convention for the rest of the day. So the next morning, I'm just you know what? I look in the mirror and I'm like, you know what? That's not that noticeable. I could probably go back and, yeah, I could actually go back. Plus, I have the scene of him punching me in the face, and that's going to be the best scene in the music video. So I figure, why not? I have other cosplayers there. And so I go back there, and confident, ready to film the rest of the music video. And so the next scene was with this Rainbow Dash cosplayer who agreed to be in it. And I walk up to her, I find her at the convention, and I say, hey, so you ready to film your scene of the music video? And she said, oh yeah, I am ready, but be careful, my mom's here. And you couldn't have mentioned that any time in between now and when we were talking through email, could you? No. Well, okay, well, again, I'm like, okay, I'm still confident, like maybe her mom won't mind. Maybe her mom will be okay with the scene that she is in. So, I talked to her mom, I'm like, are you okay with your daughter being in this music video? And she said, well, what's the scene? And so I'm like, okay, maybe she'll say yes. Okay. So I'm shaking my ass in your daughter's face. And she said no. Strike 3. And yeah, so at that point I'm just as low as I can possibly be. This has been the worst convention experience of my life, and I'm just incredibly like down in the dumps. And so, but I have an animation panel to do, so I have to sort of fake a smile and go up there and say, yeah, this took me like 18 hours to make, and or whatever. And so, like, I just left feeling like really disappointed at the fact that I accomplished pretty much nothing I wanted to accomplish at that convention. So I go home and I go on Skype because like there's only like one of the people who like always manages to cheer me up is you know, my girlfriend, my web girl, my online waifu, my waifu. So, yeah, she's kind of my girlfriend, but we've never met in person, and like part of me is always ashamed to say, like, yeah, she's my girlfriend, because we've never met in person, but at the same time, I do love her more than I love anybody in the world, so, like, I don't know, maybe when I meet her, that'll all change. Fingers crossed, but, you know. So I talk to her, you know, basically it's someone who I just talk to and flirt with and say I love you to on Skype, whatever. And so I talk to her and tell her what happened. I tell her, yeah, I got punched in the face and I had to get stitches at that convention. I was like, I got seriously punched in the face. And this person who also loves me, told me, damn, Little Mac knocked you out. And then she said, oh wait, it's a pony convention, so Big Mac knocked you out. Strike 4. I didn't need, like, I know I said 3, but yeah, that was pretty brutal. So yeah, that's the story. Excuse me, when do you plan on getting punched in the face again?
We're gonna line up.
Yeah, what do you?
So yeah.
Everybody form a line.
I don't know, I expected people to actually want to engage and have questions, but apparently I was wrong. If that's the case, like, I've done everything I wanted to do, we can just end the panel. Oh, okay. Like, yeah, like I said, we'll just end the panel. No, what's your question?
Sorry, but are you going to do another Brony polka type thing?
Yes, like I had a lot of fun making the last one, and there's a lot of new Brony songs that have come out in between when I made it and now, and there's probably going to be even more next January, so yeah, why not? You know, maybe I'll actually get sued by Weird Al this time.
Yes!
Cheese sandwich?
Yeah, so, alright, you.
Could you describe the process of making Winters effed up?
I go outside during January. I say to myself,
And fuck Winter!
and I just push a button and the animation's done and the song is done. So,
You coming back next year?
yes. Alright, you.
What was your favorite video that you worked on?
The one I'm most proud of is the C Students pilot. Even though I'm not continuing C students, I remember how passionate I was about it at the time. I remember just how much I wanted to get it out there, how much work I was putting into it, and like when you put that much work into something, that is your prized possession. So yeah, it's that. Yeah. I guess my second one would be Marvel Musical, since that's like one of the few videos I made entirely by myself. Like I animated it, I composed the music, I sang all the voices, I did everything for that, so I'm kind of proud of that as well. I don't know if I'll do phase 2, considering I got a lot of other stuff I want to do, but you know. Alright. Yes.
In your recent motion comic, do you ever plan on making an animated short about it?
Yes, I do. Several. I can see you really want to see it.
More than you know.
Yeah.
Alright.
I need to go change my pants now.
Oh, there already.
That's just because it's the second day of the con.
No. Well, maybe.
That's clear.
Hey, if I don't have to change my pants, you don't have to either. Okay.
Better raise your hand.
Do you enjoy answering stupid questions?
Yes, actually. Yes, actually. Like, it gives me a chance to appear smarter than most people, which I do not get that chance often.
Does evil ham taste better than regular ham?
I mean, I never read Homestuck. I don't get the reference.
It's not a Homestuck reference, that's just something I just came up with.
Oh, Sonic Boom. I just remembered that joke.
Wait, that's what that's from.
I don't know. I've never tasted. I've never tasted evil or regular ham, but chaotic neutral ham tastes amazing. Oh, yeah.
How far did you have to travel for TriCon?
Oh, well, I live in New York, so if I can just open Google Maps here, a long-ass way.
Forest
No, it was just an hour-and-a-half plane ride. Not that bad, considering I recently went to BabsCon, which is on the complete other side of America. So, you know, after going that far, I'm just relieved. Like, it was, like, instantaneous compared. So, yeah. You.
What part of New York?
New York City.
Oh, the city, okay.
Yeah.
I'm from upstate, so that's why I had to ask.
Oh, sweet. What, you thought we could hang out?
Know your place, fan. Yes, master.
Hey, Quill, do you want to be my Spike? I'll sleep, and you answer questions for me. Yes or no?
Whatever you say, master. So the panel's now been changed to the MD Quill panel. Hello.
Fuck, we broke him.
As you can see, my master's asleep, so please be very quiet. He can't be disturbed. What?
What?
Let's get our football game started!
What's this about being quiet?
My master is fully rested. Thank you, master. Please wake up. He's now dead.
Yes.
Favorite MLP character?
Last century, right?
As of the 100th episode, Gummy.
Morgan Freeman was.
Alright, you raising your hand?
I was kind of curious on how you did your hairstyle in other videos. I see students, when you had your hair long enough, did that mean you had long hair in high school, or
Wait, what? How, like,
like how you made your hairstyle? It's like,
how I drew August's hair?
Well, I mean, like, is that how you would have depicted yourself in high school? Like,
I mean, just you do realize that was a cartoon, right?
I know, but like, it seems like you
you take artistic liberties to detract from reality, right? Do I look like I could grow hair that long?
How about that attitude?
Well, it's a good thing I'm made of,
dreams are made
well, it's a good thing I'm made of Play-Doh. Yes.
Can we be friends? That way we can not be friends anymore and we can all leave.
He's giving you that look like I'm just gonna kill you in your sleep tonight.
How would you do vitamin D ass?
Is he's planning something in there?
You can all learn a thing or two. You can all learn a thing or two from him.